So when you're thinking about AppSec, we talk a lot about relationships in the show and how you're working with the developers. So can you talk a little bit about how you engage an engineering community and how you get them both interested and perhaps, in an ideal world, passionate about AppSec?
An interesting thing, I think people forget that developers like doing a good job.
Yeah.
And this is like one of the, and I personally actually blame our own industry. Like we've kind of traditionally approached it as like, oh, we're smarter than all the developers.
Yeah.
The developers are dumb because they don't know this. And when you look back 20, 25 years ago, developers were having problems with optimal SQL queries and things like that. Developers having just general QA problems, general performance problems. But once they were told the right way to do things, they latched onto that and they felt passionate about it. Now they were armed with the right tools. I've always argued that if you give the developers the right information at the right time in a way that they can actually understand it, they completely consume that and they do adopt it and they actively want to do the right thing and they will write great and secure code. And in fact, they will start propagating that amongst themselves. You essentially,
Oh, yeah. So you've seen that where...
Oh, yes, where developers themselves just get excited about it because, I mean, it is kind of sexy to say, hey, I know about security, and I can wear a black hoodie or whatever.
Yes,
And
the hoodie counts.
Yeah.
The hoodie plays.
No, and so, but people like being good at their craft. And I've really found that resonates with developers. You say like, hey, here's what SQL injection looks like. And I'm actually going to walk you through a demo. So when I think about just general developer training, I will admit that lab-based training is more powerful than just purely having somebody, up on a whiteboard or just with slides.
It's time-consuming, though, right?
It is time-consuming. And so what I've seen that actually works well in that is kind of like what I call this train-the-trainer kind of scenario. Even more so if you are or have rolled out kind of a security champions type program where you have one developer within each pod / agile team that's kind of the person who owns security or at least thinks about security. And that person learns directly from the AppSec team. And then they can then in turn teach their team themselves, like, hey, this is what security looks like. Here's our code base. I ran X, Y, and Z tool against our code base, and I found this vuln. I found that actually really, really powerful. But giving them that lab-based training so they can really see that this is real and it's tangible, that is what I've seen actually really have that light bulb like flip on for people.
So lab-based training is the train-the-trainer approach.
Yep.
So your security champions, you train them the lab-based, and the idea is they're infecting the rest of their team with a methodology that the rest of the team then learns from.
It's definitely a missionary model. It really is. It's like, no, it's like they're going to go and then they're going to convert the rest of their team and get them the security religion and get everybody else excited about it as well. And I've seen that scale and scale like, with hundreds of developers. And I think that method definitely works. There are some other products and things like that where people are trying to gamify it and that's have, some various levels of success. But once again, it all goes back to this idea of showing the developer what actually happens when they don't, quote unquote, do some of the basics like sanitizing input, or they're using third-party dependencies that are vulnerable, or they're not actually thinking about business logic properly. Showing them the actual impact of that really resonates with them, and they can say, oh, I do want to change this, and now I actually have the knowledge to make that change and follow best practices.
I like the missionary model. Yeah. I like that phrase. I think I'm going to steal that one.
Yeah. Don't go too crazy with it because that occasionally doesn't work out too well for the missionaries.
Yes.
No, but it all depends on obviously thinking about the culture of the company that you're in. And the culture of those developers. And some developers do latch onto it more than others. One of the bigger things I think of when I think of just the relationship between security and developers is this notion of empathy. One of the reasons why I emphasize so much on, people coming up in the security industry to set themselves apart by being a builder is that being an engineer, you automatically get this credibility with other engineers.
Yes.
If you can say, hey, I understand, what it is to build software. I understand what it is to have tight deadlines. I understand what it is to have bugs in my code and to occasionally skip corners. I think that speaks a lot to developers, and you immediately get that credibility, and they just believe you immediately. It's like, hey, okay, I get it. Flea used to write code himself. He has written some shitty code himself. It's like, hey, I'm going to make sure that when I talk to Flea or when Flea talks to me, we actually are essentially speaking the same language, just, maybe from a couple of different perspectives.
Yeah, the empathy goes a long way.
Oh, yeah.
And you're right, the builder-first mentality really helps in a lot of different ways.
Yeah, empathy is one of those things I think we don't think about a lot in security. But when it's there, you can definitely tell. Like you can definitely tell in some.
You can tell when it's there, or tell when it's not.
You can definitely tell when it's not. I used to work at this company, NetSuite, and one of the things we had is kind of like this value, and I've carried this along with me ever since then, is this concept that security should be lovable. Not just in the actual feature itself. So you think about like the classic example I think of lovable security is like Duo Security.
Sure.
When you think about MFA, that's actually, hey, I actually like using
this.
Yeah,
this is cool.
Yeah,
this is easy.
Yeah, I get this little push that shows up on my phone, on my Apple Watch, and I can just click this, yay. But it's also just in the demeanor of your security team. And that's why I also think, things like, hey, security teams have to probably have some of the highest ethics and morals. They have to have some of the highest discipline around customer service and things like that. Like I'm a huge believer in no jerks.
Yes.
So you can't
100%.
Well, but that didn't always used to be. That wasn't always the case.
That was not always the case. It still is. Not always the case today.
But I think that's what really makes a security team powerful is this notion that people actively want to come and engage with the security team. They're like, hey, these are the people that know a ton of stuff. They're really friendly. They understand my problems. It sounds almost like we're talking about a therapist or something. Right. But I think it's actually really good and makes for a healthy AppSec program.